Good evening, everybody. This is Casper from the Tropical Weather Threat Society bringing you our normal nightly update. And as we could see, Hurricane Melissa is still a very formidable hurricane. Its intensification has begun again. It had plateaued earlier today and has now begun. The pressures are starting to drop again. Category 5 seems quite likely at this point, though eyewall replacement cycles may not allow that to occur. Plus, there looks to be a little bit of a moat developing on that, a little bit of a dry slot, which it would be indicative of trying to get a eyewall replacement cycle eventually going. But the eye is also contracting, which means that the pressures are going to continue to drop. Okay, we do have the 5 p.m. advisory, and Hurricane Melissa is located at 16.4 north, 77.2 west, about 115 miles south southwest of Kingston, Jamaica, approximately 295 miles south southwest of Guantanamo, Cuba. Maximum sustained winds have increased to 145 miles an hour. Movement is west at 270 degrees at 5 miles an hour, and the minimum central pressure is 941 millibars. With this advisory, portions of eastern Cuba have now gone into a hurricane warning, and portions have been named for a tropical storm warning. I guess I'll try to pronounce this stuff. I know I can't. I usually try to avoid it if at all possible. So I am going to try to bring that up in a graphical format just to save time and sheer embarrassment, honestly. Hurricane warning again in effect for Jamaica and eastern portions of eastern Cuba. We have a hurricane watch in effect for the southwestern peninsula of Haiti, and a tropical storm warning in effect for the southwestern portions of Haiti and a Cuban province of Las Tunas. Okay. All right. Interest elsewhere in Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Cuba, the southeastern and central Bahamas, and the Turks and Caicos Islands, and Bermuda should monitor the progress of Melissa. Additional watches and warnings could be required tonight or tomorrow. Hazards affecting land. Wind. Tropical storm conditions are likely occurring in Jamaica, with hurricane conditions expected to begin by Monday. Tropical storm conditions are expected to begin in eastern Cuba by Tuesday afternoon, with hurricane conditions expected to begin in the hurricane warning area by Tuesday evening. Tropical storm conditions are ongoing in the warning area in Haiti. The potential for hurricane conditions in the watch area in Haiti have diminished for today, but there is still a possibility of hurricane conditions occurring there on Tuesday. Rainfall. Melissa is expected to bring rainfall of 15 to 30 inches to portions of Jamaica, and an additional rainfall of 8 to 16 inches for southern Hispaniola through Wednesday, with local storm total maxima of 40 inches possible. Catastrophic flash flooding and numerous landslides are likely. For eastern Cuba, storm total rainfall of 10 to 15 inches, with local amounts to 20 inches, is expected by Monday into Wednesday, resulting in life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides. Over the southeastern Bahamas, total rainfall of 4 to 8 inches is expected Tuesday into Wednesday, resulting in areas of flash flooding. Storm surge. Life-threatening storm surge is likely along the south coast of Jamaica late Monday through Tuesday morning. Peak storm surge heights could reach 9 to 13 feet above ground level, near and east of where the center of Melissa makes landfall. This storm surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. There is a potential for significant storm surge along the southeastern coast of Cuba late Tuesday or Wednesday. Peak storm surge heights could reach 6 to 9 feet above normal tide levels and near and to the east of where the center of Melissa makes landfall. This storm surge will be accompanied by large and destructive waves. And as far as the surf is concerned, stay out of the water. There's obviously a monster out there in the Caribbean that is churning up everything, going to create a ton of rip currents, and we do not need any more fatalities than what this thing is already destined to cause. Looking at the forecast track, as we can see here, that is not the current track. Now, you better not. Okay, we finally have it. I had to refresh on it twice earlier and I thought I had it. The forecast track has shifted slightly to the left. The light green color here, well, actually the darker green color, I guess if you want to call it, that is our tropical storm force wind field. Our inner lighter green color, that will be our 50 knot or 58 mile an hour wind field, and our orange color is denoting our hurricane force wind field. And as you can see, forecast to still continue on a west-northwest track for about the next 12 or so-ish hours, and then start to make that turn to the north, and then begin that northeasterly recurve, and then starting to accelerate as it goes through. Hurricane warnings are noted here in the red. So as you can see, just about all of eastern Cuba is under a hurricane warning, with our tropical storm warnings stretching back a little bit there further to the west. Haiti still remains under our tropical storm warning and hurricane watch. So here we go with the major impacts, folks. It's coming, and unfortunately there is really not going to be much that can be done other than shelter in place and rush all preparations to completion in the areas of where we have our hurricane warnings, because this one's going to be bad. I really don't even know what to say. We've got such a tight clustering here on Jamaica, and I know what's coming. And that's it. This is difficult for me because I'm not going to lie to you folks. I know what's coming for these people, and I'm not going to lie to you. I really feel for everybody when they go through this. I've been through this. Nothing of this magnitude, but I've been through situations like this personally. And where you have that feeling of impending doom coming to you. You have that fear. You don't know what you don't know, and you know something really, really bad and catastrophic is coming. My heart breaks for all these people, especially getting here into the Jamaican island. I remember as a young boy what Gilbert did to this island, and this is going to be far worse than what Gilbert did, and it's heartbreaking. Like I said, this is tough to read all this out because I know what the consequences of what I'm reading are, and it's hard. I'm not going to lie to you. The HCCA consensus has shifted back slightly to the left and is now pretty much right along the central part of the island, which means that there is going to be the maximum amount of distance or width or diameter that we have of that inner core. That whole thing is coming on shore. In some of the earlier runs, we had seen a scenario to where, okay, maybe a part of the core or a part of the island may be able to kind of be off on the eastern side. Now, with this going over pretty much predominantly the center part of the island, Everybody's going to feel this, and it's not going to be pretty. Now, granted, the western side of the island may be a little easier to get by than the eastern side of the island due to the onshore flow, but damn, this we were so close to getting out of this season without having a loss of a significant uh, threat and a massive loss of life, and this is far worse than anything that I would have ever hoped to see. And I hope to see what we were looking at, to where it was like, oh, we're almost there. We've just got this one more signal to go through, and that one more signal has turned into this. All right, our 5 p.m. discussion from the National Hurricane Center. We're going to read the whole thing. After an earlier pause in intensification, this afternoon's Air Force reconnaissance mission has found Melissa intensifying again. The minimum pressure has fallen 12 millibars from this morning's NOAA P3 mission, with the last dropson indicating a minimum pressure of 941 millibars, and the plane reported a shrinking eye wall down to 6 nautical miles in diameter. In addition to the low pressure, the satellite presentation of Melissa remains very impressive, with 1 minute visible satellite imagery from AGO's 19 mesosector showing a very clear eye with a stadium effect. The eye temperature on water vapor image has continued to warm, while the thick ring of eye wall cloud tops remain between 75 and 80 degrees Celsius around the eye. The presentation of Melissa on radar reflectivity from Kingston, Jamaica has also improved, though there still appear to be hints of a moat forming around the inner eye wall, though without an obvious secondary eye wall formation yet. Subjective Dorvac CI numbers from both SAB and TAB were T7.0, or equivalent to 140 knots, with objective satellite estimates between 132 and 143 knots. However, Melissa's peak winds from the last couple of recon missions have been lagging the satellite-based estimates. The last fix had a peak of 700 millibar flight level winds of only 129 knots, but a dropson launched in the northern eye wall also reported a 500 meter layer average of 142 knots, with an earlier dropson in the northeast eye wall with a surface wind gust of 131 knots. This data is enough to raise the maximum sustained winds to 125 knots, and given the satellite presentation, this could be conservative. In other words, what that really means is that this may actually already be a Category 5 storm, or an extremely high end Category 4, something along the lines of an Ian for folks there in the U.S. Melissa continues to move slowly westward, estimated at 270 degrees at 4 knots. The hurricane has been moving a little faster to the west today, and this motion will likely continue for another 12 to 18 hours, while the narrow mid-level ridge to the north remains in place. Soon, a shortwave trough will be moving into the southeast United States, and this feature should create a weakness that Melissa will turn sharply northeast into as it gradually accelerates. The track guidance has shifted a little westward again this cycle, and the NHC track forecast was nudged a little west again, but still shows landfall on Tuesday morning along the south coast of Jamaica. There remain some timing differences thereafter, but a second landfall anticipated along the southeastern Cuba coast by Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. As Melissa then accelerates into the southwestern Atlantic, it will move through the Bahamas and potentially approach Bermuda by the day 4-5 time frame, with a reinforcing trough helping to kick it farther out to sea. The latest NHC track forecast is a little west in the first 24 to 60 hours, but falls back near the previous forecast track thereafter. The track is roughly a blend of the reliable HCCA and Google DeepMind ensemble mean. Now that Melissa is intensifying again, it seems more clear that the earlier pause in intensification was a temporary oscillation, and the hurricane now appears poised to intensify more in the short term. The latest NHC intensity forecast shows a little more intensification in 12 hours, but continues to show a peak intensity of 140 knots, which is supported by HAVS B, which shows a landfall of Melissa as a catastrophic Category 5 hurricane. The Google DeepMind ensemble members also continue to indicate this peak, with now 48 out of 50 members reaching this lofty intensity. That's a 96% chance of Category 5 from the Google DeepMind. And however, intercore processes like ERCs could occur at any time, and the current small eye of Melissa likely suggests an ERC could begin in the next 24 hours or so, though it is very difficult to predict these occurrences with much skill. After landfall in Jamaica, Melissa will likely weaken some due to the interaction with that island's high terrain, but it is still expected to be a major hurricane when crossing the Cuba coastline on Tuesday night. After emerging into the southwestern Atlantic Ocean, increasing vertical wind shear should continue gradual weakening through the end of the forecast, with the possibility that Melissa could start extratropical transition by day 5. The NHC intensity forecast continues to be on the high side of the guidance, but falls closer to the HCCA and IVCN aids towards the end of the forecast period. And again, we all know what's Cat 5. All right, this sucks. This really sucks. I'm not gonna lie. Looking at Earth Null, you see the tight wind gradient. It's perfect symmetry on it. And it's a monster. It is an absolute monster. Hurricane recon data. We've got one en route. The other one is beginning to exit the storm, and it is on its way back down here off to the southeast, probably heading back towards the ABC Islands down there. Looking at the graph, granted, we had the flight level winds, but then, some peak winds down here near the surface that, this is, if it's not a Category 5 right now, it's very close. And by the time that this plane gets there, we may have a completely different solution. We're looking at 941 now, and Mission 17's on its way, and I believe this may be the one that Matthew Capucci is on. He is going into the hurricane tonight, so I'll be sharing some of that stuff into a couple of the groups that we have tied to the page, just so folks can see exactly what happened. Because again, that'd be a once in a lifetime trip, an actual Category 5 that you're flying into with the stadium effect. That's crazy. You could try to predict. You schedule that stuff in advance, and then you may try to predict. Hey, may have something really historic here, and that's really what this is. The advanced Dorvac technique has pressures down to 918 millibars with a maximum vort of 143 knots. D-Print really doesn't agree with that, saying 133 and 932. But all of the remote satellite techniques are looking at these pressures being quite a bit lower than what is currently forecast. And the maximum basin intensity is 164 knots. So there's still room for this to grow. Even at 145 miles an hour, there's still room for this to grow. The basin intensity is what, 185, almost 190? All depending on what that central pressure and how wide, what's the diameter of that eye. Wind speed probabilities. Kingston, I've got at least a little bit better news. Being that it's the capital, we will take any optimism that we could get. You're still going to catch a hellacious flooding, but some of your percentages have gone down. You still are, obviously, you're getting the tropical storm force winds now. Everybody there in Jamaica, you're getting the tropical storm force winds. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. For Montego Bay, you are at a 79% chance of seeing those 50-knot winds. Your numbers went up with this advisory. For Kingston, you're now at 59% of seeing those 50-knot, 58-mile-an-hour winds. Your numbers have actually come down with this advisory. And for Montego Bay, you have a 54% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. Kingston, 34% chance of seeing those hurricane force winds. So there has been an adjustment there. And unfortunately, it's leaning a little bit more towards the west. Guantanamo Bay, you are looking at a 73% chance of tropical storm force winds, a 39% chance of those 50-knot winds, and a 20% chance of hurricane force winds. Grand Turk, your tropical storm force winds have come down just a little bit. You're at 40%. It was Bermuda earlier that had the other percentage. And then we have a 10% chance of 50-knot winds and a 4% chance of those hurricane force winds. I believe your 50-knot went up just 1 point, and then your tropical storm force winds came down a couple points. But after reading all of these as much as I have and going through as much as I have, if I have remembered your percentages wrong from the previous one, I do apologize. Bermuda, wow, you shot up real quick. You're at 55% seeing tropical storm force winds. Expect watches. 23% chance of seeing those 50-knot winds and a 7% chance of seeing hurricane force winds. But at 55%, you can guarantee it. You guys will get watches for sure within the next 72 hours or so. Maybe a little less now. So, yeah, it's not funny, folks. This is going to have large reaching impacts here, and it sucks. It really sucks because I keep seeing this purple expand across Jamaica. Erase all this other stuff. The purples are expanding. They're expanding further west. It's 20 to 30 inches of rainfall or 500 to 750 millimeters of rainfall. The problem with this is that this falls before the big winds arrive. A lot of this, I'm not going to say all of it falls before it makes landfall, But the majority of this rain is going to fall. It is going to significantly oversaturate the soils. And then the wind is coming. My heart breaks for you people. It really does. I know what's coming. I track these storms all over the world. I know what's coming. Please stay safe. Help one another. You're going to need it. As far as eastern Cuba is concerned, still a little bit of a lower confidence forecast noted by the National Hurricane Center, and we are looking at around 16 to 20 inches or 400 to 500 millimeters of rain, and with locally higher amounts. And I mean, not that we didn't already have enough problems. Southwestern Haiti, as you can see here, you still have the potential for an isolated 16 plus inches. Sorry, folks. This isn't easy on me. This is not easy. Estimated rainfall from the 12Z Euro and GFS. If we look here and run this forward, it just in the 72-hour frame. It's all we really need. Loads of purple. Complete inundation of the island. Like, I'm sorry if I'm not talking about the folks there in Cuba and the Bahamas and Bermuda very much, because I know it's coming. Please take care of yourselves, folks. Key messages. Key message number 1 for Jamaica. Seek shelter now. Damaging winds and heavy rainfall tonight and Monday will cause catastrophic and life-threatening flash flooding and numerous landslides before potentially devastating winds arrive Monday night and Tuesday morning. Extensive infrastructural damage, long-duration power and communication outages, and isolations of communities are expected. Life-threatening storm surge and damaging waves are expected along portions of the southern coast Monday night and Tuesday morning. Number 2, Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Catastrophic, life-threatening flash flooding and landslides are expected across southwestern Haiti and southern portions of the Dominican Republic through midweek. In Haiti, extensive infrastructural damage and isolation of communities is likely. Although winds have temporarily decreased on the Tiburon Peninsula, they are likely to increase again across much of western Haiti on Tuesday. Number 3, Eastern Cuba. Life-threatening storm surge is expected along portions of the southern coast of eastern Cuba late Tuesday and Tuesday night. Damaging winds and heavy rainfall with life-threatening and potentially catastrophic flash flooding and landslides are also expected to begin on Monday. Preparations should be rushed to completion. Number 4, southwestern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos. Monitor Melissa closely. There is an increasing risk of a significant storm surge, damaging wind, and heavy rainfall Tuesday and Wednesday. Watches will likely be required early Monday. All right, I'm going to check for any questions if anybody's got any. I'm going to pull up some of the warnings and stuff that we have. Let's see here. Yeah, Ian, folks, that was tough. Ian was a tough one, and this one is worse. This one would be basically, Ian was moving not fast, but not slow either. This is going to end up kind of creeping underneath real close. Imagine if Ian would have sat offshore for 3 days and then moved in. That's what we're looking at here. But even in Southwest Florida, know it very well, you don't have the mountains. So you would have to then take what you saw with Ian and then combine that with what you saw with Helene or something like Harvey for US people. This is the combination of like so many different nightmare scenarios. It's not even funny. This has every single threat on the table from and to its absolute extreme from a tropical cyclone or a hurricane, typhoon. They're all the same. Um, it's heartbreaking, folks. I mean, I know what's coming, and I struggle to find the words. Not gonna lie. Can we get zoomed in at the 240 kilometer range? No. All right, well, we'll come back out to the 480 kilometer range. As you can see, very, very powerful inner eye wall. And it's trying to get that concentric ring, but it's so strong and so powerful right now that if folks remember some of the storms that we've seen in the past, specifically one in pure vivid memory, was Hurricane Ida there into the northern Gulf Coast that hit into the Grand Isle, Louisiana, and coming up through the greater New Orleans area. That one had a double eye wall, and it caused great problems. If this happens to have a double eye wall upon approach, there will be areas that have light winds between the two eye walls, but here's the problem. To get into that area of lighter winds, you first have to go through the outer eye wall, and that's not going to play. It's not going to be the inner eye wall, but that outer eye wall won't play. It'll cause big time damage. The problem is that the outer eye wall is also much wider. So you're going to feel those effects of those hurricane force winds, like big time hurricane force winds, would be much further expanded with that double eye wall feature. I don't even know what to say, folks. Just please stay safe. This is tough. Like, it's so bad that the emergency management is like, here, you can download a bulletin if you want, but we're not updating anything. We've got better things to do than to update our website. And you know what? I thank them for that. Though it still contains all of the shelters. I mean, this is really going to be our only hope in many cases. There are quite a few places down there that are going to be built for, to be able to withstand this. The big problem is, you see all this green? Well, that might not be around. The flooding that's going to take place right here with all of these rivers, like, there's going to be many of these communities that are not like, and I hate to say this, like, these areas here near these rivers that are coming off the highlands, they're probably not going to be there after this is all said and done with. All of this is going to get completely remade. Landslides everywhere. Like this community here. All this water, where do you think all this water's got to go? Where do you think all the 40 inches? And it's not just 40 inches in one spot, it's 40 inches everywhere, or 30 inches everywhere. Every little spot gets all that rain, and it's on a hill. Where do you think it's going to go? Even these communities out here, you're not safe from the flooding that's going to come from the mountains. Like I said, I know what I can't say that I know exactly what's coming, but I have a very good idea of what it's going to look like after it's done. A very good idea of what it's going to look like. There's going to be people that are cut off. Helicopters are going to be everywhere. Some places are going to have generators, and be able to try to do something. I hope that, there are, plenty of Starlinks already deployed out here. So communications after the storm leaves, fire up the generator, fire up the Starlink, and get communications out, because some of these communities, and like in the areas that have the infrastructure, yes, but in the areas that are not, that are going to have their infrastructure completely laid down, I mean, power's going to go out on the entire island likely, other than backup, or maybe anything that has buried lines, maybe. Otherwise than that, I'm anticipating power going out on pretty much the entire island. All right, looking at the other governments, please, folks, and the whole reason that I do this is I just want people to follow the official sources. You can get it from the database here. You go in International Meteorology Database. I mean, you can get all these things. It's where I find everything that you see here. I know how to use the database to my advantage. So obviously, my daughter created it. So it's pretty easy for me to kind of navigate. I mean, we've got we've got bulletins. I mean, you can get all the information from the official sources. And we're always stressing on people using their official sources. Please. I beg of y'all to use your official sources. Turks and Caicos. We still don't have nothing on it. I'm interested now. That's kind of why I'm checking it. Oh, we do have, and they keep popping on their Facebook page. They are dropping the Bahamas information, but as we could see, they are getting ready. They're doing their best. I'm gonna have to follow them from the page. Hold on, where are we at? Okay, now I will be able to see them from the page. So there we go. So at least this way I could share some information out to a couple of our groups. Caymans, I love you guys, but I got to take you all down. And which is, honestly, that's one of the best things that you could see, though I don't know. I'm still concerned a little bit about Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Just because you're closer. That's all. Let's see. Can you... What about... Okay, I understand this. But can we have the other locations? It's the Cayman Islands government, National Weather Service, but can we please? Uh-oh. Well, this is all climate. I don't want climate. I want now. Okay, fine. Looking at our Euro ensembles here for this afternoon. We'll zoom in. as you could see, west central, causing massive damage and catastrophic outcomes. Going out the next 7 days, honestly, we're not really looking at much after this goes through. So everybody within the cone right now, or in and around the cone, please make preparations. And the GEFS running it out, as you can see, we can drop it down into the Caribbean. We'll play Where's Waldo with Jamaica. That's so sad. So sad. Dropping out here with the Euro AI has done pretty good with track this year. So, like I said, there's been things that have performed extraordinarily well, and 96% Google DeepMind. Okay, so let's look at Google DeepMind. Ensemble mean. Pretty much going ensemble mean, shady ground, the White House. Hey, White House, New Hope, Petersville, Font Hill. This thick line right here is the ensemble mean. Now, granted, we're not saying that that's where this storm is going to make landfall. What we're saying is that's kind of where this is what was discussed by the National Hurricane Center. And as you can see, there is quite a bit of kind of clustering, especially in this region right here. That's where the highest probability is looking, right in that region. So anybody within this, it would potentially, you have a higher chance of seeing the core. That's for certain. Now, looking at the ensemble breakdown, this is why. This is terrible. Because, like the National Hurricane Center said, there was a 48 out of the 50 members. Well, let's go ahead and just call out the members. The one member that does not show the Category 5 is number 39, and the other member is number 5. So, number 5 and number 39, please step forward. Otherwise than that, the rest of them show Category 5 intensities. What is in the vertical black box there represents all of the lowest pressures for each individual ensemble member. The horizontal box on the bottom is the overall average of all those ensemble members. That mean, the ensemble mean, the big thick purple line that we were showing, that represents 929 millibars of central pressure. Now, people will be like, hey, like you've always said, don't trust one model, one run, which is absolutely true. But some models perform better than other models. And specifically, the latest here from CIRA, looking at the AI models and its intensity error. You see this little green line right here? That's the Google DeepMind. Its error is what? 8 knots? Less? And that goes all the way out to 72 hours. Look at the other models. All these other AI models. Look at the intensity bias. Google DeepMind is wiping the floor with those models. Now, you'll say, well, you know what, Casper? That is nothing but AI models. And you are absolutely correct. Now, we're going to look at the rest of the models. We don't have the Google DeepMind here, but what we have is HAVS A, B, HWRF, and HMON, and then the official track. The Google DeepMind, up to a 72-hour mark, performs phenomenally well compared to its counterparts. That's why the National Hurricane Center has been really, like going with a lot of their stuff, because their intensity predictions are far beyond what we see with our conventional models. Whatever they did, they found something, and it has been an absolute game changer this year, because it is allowing for the National Hurricane Center to have to have something of kind of reliability for intensity. It's the one thing we've done so well with the Hurricane Forecast Improvement Project. They did a phenomenal job of being able to really trim down the track errors, so this way you don't make unnecessary evacuation orders. The intensity had always been the one thing that's been lagging behind, and if the Google DeepMind is going to be able to fill that void, it's done it all season long so far. And that is absolutely depressing, because you can't find something to be like, you can't fool yourself in saying that maybe this won't be that bad. No, it's going to be that bad. And there are some of these ensemble members that show that it could even be worse than that bad. This is like almost the worst case scenario. And coming in from the south. So it really exacerbates that surge on the southern shore. No, Heather, I don't. I haven't. I haven't personally looked for the cameras. I have been monitoring the Jamaica Observer on social media. That is the kind of the island's newspaper organization, and they've got a lot of videos coming in from all over. So of people getting prepared, some like some really ominous clouds, some unbelievable waves smacking up against the southern island. It's going to be difficult for me to watch those cameras, because I'm the type of guy that remembers what I see, and then a lot of what I see with a photographic memory for the most part. And then you'll see things afterwards, or you may never see them again. And it's just knowing that that's someone's business, someone's home, someone's, anything, someone's boat, someone's car, like, granted, all those materialistic things can be replaced, but the damage to the individual, granted, they're safe, but the damage to their property, it becomes a completely engulfing. It impacts all across the entire spectrum of life. And it's hard. I've been there. Charlie in '04 taught me my lesson. I'll never forget it. It's one of the reasons why I'm doing what I do today. I've been there. I know what it feels like. It's terrible. And as you can see, the Google DeepMind really, really keeps a lot of this power. Even going up and out. Keeps it quite low in some of its pressures. And a couple of them don't really let off some of its intensity. Maybe try to deepen a little bit again out here in the 72 to 96 hour time range. All depending. But, folks, it's tough. It's tough to talk about this. It really is. All right, let's see. Well, we can't do, oh, by the way, in case people are looking, Nesdis right now is broke. As you could see, we haven't had an update in, I don't know how long. I mean, it hasn't updated in a very, very long time. It's been down since this morning. This was overnight last night. It may, wait a minute. Let me see here. Scroll all the way down. 2230. We got one frame. One frame recently. Ah, damn. That's an absolute monster, folks. All right, so I had something that one of our Facebook followers showed me earlier, and I'm going to kind of end it. There it is. I'm going to end it on this note right here. So, if you look really, really close, if I can remember how to do this, I'm going to try to show you guys. I'm going to zoom this in as much as I can. Damn, that didn't work at all. Hold on 1 second. Let me try this again from a different perspective. So let me open this up in a new tab. Now let me zoom in on this. I do want to thank Scott there on Facebook for pointing this out earlier. He caught this and immediately sent it to me. But I want you to look really, really close at the center of the circulation on this. And folks, does it look like that this thing is smiling at us at one point in time? It almost looks like there's two eyes, a nose, and then this big Cheshire cat smile grin. Looks like a clown. And here we are in October. Now, I know that I'm one of the guys that, you know, will pull up the infrared and look for it when it's got in a specific shape and, you know, way and its intensity, and try to find that face for that comes out of the storm. I have never seen a face within the eye. Ever. So again, thank you, Scott, for pointing that out. I mean, like I'm shocked at what that is. I mean, now, granted, it's obviously not a face, but damn sure it looks like one. All right, Kyle, Bubba, look. Hold on. Damn it. Get this big old nasty thing out of the way. Look, you've got one eye right there, and then you've got the smile right there with the nose right in between the eyes, right there where the little pencil crayon is. One eye here, one eye there, the nose, and then the smile right here. Creepy as all just ah evil damn thing. Evil. Pure evil. And it's smiling at us. Like just that frame alone, I cannot unsee what I have seen. I can't. I can zoom this thing way out and that damn thing's still staring at me. Yeah, it jack o' lantern, like a clown, that clown emoji that you get on social media. I mean, like unreal, amazing picture, unbelievable, and again, I really do thank Scott for sending that to me. I will certainly not forget Melissa. Uh, and I've even got a family member by the name of Melissa. I might even send her that and be like, you need to cut it out. You do. You need to calm down. All right, everybody. I am going to go ahead and sign off here for a little while. I will be back live again at 10:45 p.m. here tonight. I'm not going through a lot of the long range models simply because there you go. I don't know what we want to talk about. So unless we go out there to the Western Pacific, and yes, I know Sonia's out there in the E-Pack. All right, I'll mention it. There's a tropical storm in the Eastern Pacific. It's 13.8 north, 119.8 west, moving west-northwest at 3 miles an hour, minimum central pressure of 1,004 millibars, maximum sustained winds 45 miles an hour. It is not going near anybody. It is no threat to land. It is nothing but a bona fide fish storm. But, okay, all right, I do need to do it. It is 6 o'clock. The Joint Typhoon Warning Center, we do have Tropical Cyclone 3B out here into the Bay of Bengal. Is forecast to move into eastern, kind of east central portions there of India. Right now, looking at a low-end tropical storm bringing quite a bit of rain. India does an excellent job of informing their people as far as preparations go. So they should be good to go. They do. They do a hell of a job. Shout out to them. I've watched them for many years do that. And then Invest 92A. Yeah. Gonna have to keep an eye on that one, but right now, it's not really that much of a threat. The big threat is our clown out here, Melissa. So, all right, everybody, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm losing my mind. I've been, staring at models and everything all day long, satellite recon data, everything that you can, trying to catch as much information coming out of Jamaica and everything. So, I'm gonna back off here for a little bit, at least try to keep somewhat of my sanity. I will be back live at 10:45 p.m. this evening to go over the 11 p.m. Primary advisory, and then tomorrow we're gonna do it all over again. 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 6 p.m., 10:45 p.m. all times Eastern here on Facebook and YouTube. So until I'll talk to y'all here in a few hours. So stay safe, everybody. Bye for now.